started. Yeah, the recording has begun. We are going to focus on how we can drive your digital transformation in school and how the technology can complement those traditional teaching methods so you can make more of it to help raise standards, make teachers' lives easier. We're all very busy, but whatever it is, it's got to have impact. So what we're going to look at this afternoon are two apps that can have impact within the Educational Transformation Framework, or the ETF. So we'll briefly touch upon the areas we looked at in the previous session and what we're going to be coming on to in session 7, as this is a series of sessions. We also will be then having a look at Flipgrid and how that can be used to promote student voice in school, and also how it can be used for assessment, whether it's formative or summative assessment feedback. It's quite useful for that. And then we'll have a really quick look at Minecraft Education Edition. We'll be doing a full training session on Minecraft Education Edition in one of future training sessions after Christmas. So if you want a deeper dive into that, come back and join us then. But today we'll have a look at what it is, what it can offer you, what the philosophy is behind it, and how it may play a role in your vision that you're planning using the ETF. So as I said, this is session 6. There's already been those previous 5 sessions. The recordings for those are available if you want to access those. But session 7 next week will be a culmination of everything we've done so far. It will bring together your vision planning using the Educational Transformation Framework documents that we've shared during session 3 and session 5. Also, any feedback you've got from your self-assessment from the ETF tool. And then we'll be looking at how we can bring that together, but touching upon some accessibility tools from Microsoft as well, to show you one last thing that may become a cornerstone of your vision, and it often is. So for those people that haven't been able to join all sessions, just to make sure that you're up to speed, the Educational Transformation Framework from Microsoft is a research-based vision and planning framework. It is so powerful, and it has 4 key pillars. There's the leadership and policy, the teaching and learning, and the intelligent environments, and the student success tools. Those are then broken down into areas further still, and in all the previous sessions we've delved into those. We've looked at how they could apply to you in your school, trust, or academy, and we've embarked upon planning for things like vision change. Well, how are we going to do that and make sure everybody comes with us? We've looked at how to be strategic in planning for that change and making sure we've got all the key staff in the correct places. And then thinking about, well, once we've started the journey of change, how are we going to ensure there's longevity around that and it's a continuous process? And also the reevaluation. What you write down in day 1 on your 3 or 5 year change plan will not be what you end up doing at the end of those 3 or 5 years. And then the wider community, and also the internal community in school. When we were in session 3 looking at teaching and learning impact, we very much were of the philosophy that everything we should do is around student-centered learning and improving standards within student learning. We're looking at how we can enrich the curriculum and make assessment easier through bringing in these digital tools by our vision. We're also thinking about, well, at the moment, have we got any barriers that hinder us in that, whether it's devices or infrastructure, or maybe it's the physical classroom, the learning space, and whether those need to be factored into our 3 and 5 year plan. And those can be significant pieces of investment, but they should be in there, because it's no good giving teachers an amazing platform to use or brilliant apps to engage with if the hardware is going to fail them. It becomes a negative experience for both the students and pupils, or also the staff as well. During session 5, we talked about the intelligent environments that we're going to use. We have all had to embrace hybrid learning and distance learning, and that has taught us quite a bit. But it's then how, when we get back to more of a normal life and school, how are we going to use that? How is that going to become part of our vision? Is there anything we can do in day-to-day teaching that we've harnessed the potential of in the hybrid learning scenario and bring it back in? Of course, we want to make sure that our pupils work in a safe, secure environment. So it's going to be making sure there's device security and also platform security. And then thinking around that, well, are there elements in products such as Microsoft Office 365 where there is things like machine learning or AI, and that can make us very data rich, but also we talked about things like Power BI to build dashboards and making sure that data comes to us in a meaningful way rather than just being bombarded with nonsense. And then the final pillar that we looked at last time, and we will be coming back to revisit all of these again in session 7, is around that leadership in IT development. If you've got an IT department, you partner with a third-party IT company, how are you going to get them involved in the vision? Could they offer you something that helps you? I know Turn It On as a partner, we work with many schools across the UK, and we certainly play a key part in forming the vision and making sure that we help schools to realise that vision and get there in an affordable and achievable way. You're also making sure that students leave you with future-ready skills. Who knows what curveballs they're going to face in the future? So this isn't about building the knowledge. This is about building skill sets, about them being able to flex and bend and adapt to situations they find themselves in, but still be successful adults as well as successful learners while you're there. And of course, we want equality, we want inclusion, and we want accessibility for everyone, which is one of the reasons why next session, in session 7, we'll look at the educational transformation framework, but we'll also have a look at accessibility tools. Throughout this process, right the way from session 1, I've asked you to visit the Educational Transformation Assessment tool and to log on to there and make sure that you've had a go at trying to complete the assessment online. And that assessment link I will drop into the chat for you in a moment if you haven't yet had a chance to undertake that. But once you do get there, it's quite straightforward. There's some very low-level demands upon you. You guess where you are now. If you don't know, if you do know, that's great, because it makes it even more informative when you get feedback at the other end. But it's important to start to have some idea of what you wish your vision to be, because you'd want your vision to be formed by these sessions and understand where you're going. So I'm just going to pop that into the chat for you, and you'll be able to pick that up. If you haven't been able to have a go at that yet, you will need that for session 7. Are there any questions so far about the ETF and what we covered previously? As I said, you can watch the videos, they've all been recorded, or even just how you're getting on with that process and creating your own vision. Nope. Okay, remember you can pop anything into chat at any point if you wish. So we are going to focus today on, as I said, using 2 tools, and the first is around the student voice and also the assessment, and we're going to have a look at Flipgrid. Flipgrid itself is web-based, so you don't have to install it. It's also accessible through Office 365, and after we've had a look in theory, we'll branch out and we'll go over to a real Flipgrid and have a look at how to use it. But you'll set up classes, and then you'll make grids for those classes, and in there will be subjects. You could also use it for learning communities. You could also build whole school communities. So I've seen people use this for projects that they're working on with pupils or students. Maybe you've got an ecology group, maybe you've got a science club, maybe you've got a coding club. You could also successfully use this in any subject in school or any class in most educational phases. So there's a lot of scope to use this in many different ways. Once you've got that sorted and you're adding your topics are really the thing that fosters discussion and debate. It's those things for question or exploration of idea. You might throw something in to challenge pupils and you just want to gather their feedback, and that student voice element runs through this quite strongly. You may also just want to use Flipgrid to celebrate something. It may be that there's an ongoing project and you want to celebrate everything that's being done with that, and you want to get people feedback into where they feel things have gone really well for the school and how that could benefit them. And then once you've got that going, you'll decide how the settings are going to be organised. You can have Flipgrid so they're public, so anyone can contribute to them. So I have seen schools use this with parents or governors. I've also seen trust boards use this with leaders in schools. So the scope, as well as it being teaching and learning focused primarily, I've seen people adapt the use of Flipgrid into these other areas and these other contexts. So I think that's probably a good opportunity just to swap over and look at Flipgrid itself. So I'm just going to swap screens a moment and share the screen where I've got Flipgrid. So where you log into Flipgrid itself, it's really easy to find. If you go to a web browser and you just search online, you will find Flipgrid, and once you've signed in, it's here, but I should just show you how to reach that. So I'm just going to reshare a different screen with you. And when you log into Office 365, you've got one of 2 routes to get to Flipgrid. You can open up a tab in your web browser and you can search for Flipgrid, and it will come up as a hit, and you can log in there and you will get to the landing page. The other way of getting to it is to go to the app launcher in Office 365, scroll down to all apps, and because I've used Flipgrid it appears there. But for you, if you haven't used it before, if you go down to the bottom of all apps, you get into the other section, and there's other apps that are linked to Office 365 that are owned by Microsoft that lend itself to using them and getting to them easily. So Flipgrid's in here, and it's also really easy then for students to get in there if they're using it. And you can pin apps into your app launcher. If you've got something that you want to be available there, you can right click, and that mine is pinned, but you can pin it in there, and then it will be available as part of your core set of apps that you use regularly, so you won't have to go to the more apps section. Once you've got into there and you're using Flipgrid, you'll the first time need to sign in, and you can sign in with the Office 365 account that you have from your school. So that's the in the meeting. Once 365 account, you will page that looks like this, and depending on whether you used it before or not, you will either have groups down here or it will be completely blank and I'll ask you to start a new one. So I'm quickly going to show you today how you can get into using Flipgrid, and then I'll go back and show you some of the examples I've got at the bottom of the screen here and how they could work for you. So we need to create a group first of all. So we go to create group. I'm just going to call my group today Microsoft Demo, and that will just suit us for the purpose we've got. You can have the join code that's randomly generated, but if you're using this in class with pupils, pick something more memorable, something short, snappy and easy. So I'm just going to put MS, and I'm probably going to put 20 because we're in the year 2020. It will tell you if this join code is available for you. So if a join code's been used previously by another teacher in your organization, they're unique and they link to each of the groups, so there's got to be unique. So I'm going to stick with MS20. If you want people to join, there is the route in, but there's other ways to get it once we're in there. Flipgrid.com/MS20 lists you to the grid that you want to reach. Then you have to choose how you're going to bring pupils or students in. You can have them join by username, and that could be the username they use on your network or the username they use in Office 365. But I tend to use the email that they've got because I'm going to know what their email is. I've probably already got them in a team and I'm going to be working with them in school. And also, if I don't know the email, I could go to my internal IT support. I could contact my third-party IT support company and I could get that from them. Click next. And then in here, this is where you can add your emails. You can bulk drop them in if you wish. And if you want to make this open to guests, you can share a grid with people that are not in your school, and you can invite them in. But for this purpose, because I'm going to use this with pupils and students, and for safeguarding reasons, I'm going to disable guest access. But there you go. That is when you put guest access and guest password in, and then you can have a password to get in. I might, because I'm using this with pupils, I'm going to say, as well as guest access, I'm going to put a guest password in. So that password makes sure that you've got an extra layer of security on there. And if passwords, and you're using this with families, so I said that some schools that I have are using this with pupils and also the parents, and I've seen also sometimes parents coming into a Flipgrid to share ideas about a change in school. It's a good way for you to also get parental voice captured. You can have your password down here, and you can choose, you've got to have something that's got uppercase, lowercase, number and symbol, so it's GDPR compliant. But when you got your password, it's there. I'm just going to disable that for now, and I'm going to not at this point add in any pupils with their email address. I'm just going to leave that blank and do that later, and you can do that at a later point. Oh no, they want me to do something. They've obviously changed that since the last time I was in here. Let me add somebody in. So I'm going to add demo at turn it on co.uk. Okay, so I'm going to go next, and then you can have topics in here have already been used if you've already got grids that are in use, or you can skip it for now and you can make a topic. And I'm going to go skip for now because I want to make one for you. So here we go. Here's that the join method that I highlighted earlier. So you can copy that and you can put it into things like a team, and then pupils in a class team could click it to get straight into the Flipgrid, so they don't even have to go through the app launcher route. Or there are other ways to do it. You can generate QR codes. So QR codes are really useful to pin around the classroom. And when you've got them pinned around the classroom, pupils can, if they've got a device with a camera on it, they can go and scan that, and it will also drag them straight through into the Flipgrid. Other ways to do it is Microsoft isn't too precious about Flipgrid, although they own it. It's one of their products that they willingly share with others, so you can link it into Google Classroom as well. You could, if you wish, embed code, and you could get a code so you can pop it into a website. You could also at the same time link out in other ways, so you can share on Remind, which is a social media platform, and you can also post to Twitter, or you can just get on across to your group. I normally, if I'm using this for classrooms, but I would tend to take that code and post it into the team. But at the same time, if I know I've physically got the pupils with me, I use the QR code. You'll know what's right for you. I've also seen schools occasionally take QR codes and put them on the front window of the building, and the parents, once they're used to this, can scan the QR code through the window on their mobile phone or a tablet device, and it brings up Flipgrid, and then they can access it from there. Obviously, they would need 4G. But after that, they'd be absolutely fine. After a few times of doing it, they'll just get the hang of it, and it won't phase them. So you can do the method that suits you best, but the classroom based, I would say Flipgrid best suits either a QR code. You could also put the QR code in the team, because people can scan QR codes on the screen of their device. But otherwise, you'll find if you're asking them to type this in, they'll struggle with it. So I'm just going to go to my group. So the group is made. You can decide nice things, such as you can go to the edit button up here, and then on the side of your group, you could rename your group if you wish. You can also rename the join code, and that will change it there. So if I wanted to have this for next year, I could change that to 21. That code's available. You can also choose my joining method, so you could go to name afterwards if you want, and that's where you can change your mind on the password. So everything you do at the beginning isn't set in tablets of stone. Group status for me at the moment is active. That means that the people I've invited to it will be able to see it. If I wanted to build in private first, I can hide my group, and then it's there for me to make, and then I make it public afterwards. You can allow group followers, but for safeguarding, again, if you've got pupils or students involved, I would not advocate using followers. If you're dealing with staff and adults, then it's fine to have followers. You can also change your image, so if you want to have one of the Microsoft stock images, you can, but you can also have your own image in there and choose to upload. So I'm just going to say update group, because I've changed the code. You can, if you want, have staff share the responsibility of a Flipgrid grid, and you can have what's called co-pilots, where you're both co-owners of that grid, and then you'll be able to use it for that purpose. It's up to you how you want to work it out. Also, it's really good if you've got a 2, 3, 4 elementary school and you want people to use these in their various classes, and maybe you're doing this for pupil community and you want the pupils to see the videos from each other's classes. It opens up the scope for you to be able to get that content across to them, and in those groups you'll be able to make sure that they can share even if they're stuck in a bubble on their own. So you've got lots of different abilities to get people involved in this and understand how it's going to happen. So the other way to do this is that you can spend some time building in private first, so that you haven't got all of this just happening out loud. Then down here, you will add a topic. So if you think of in Flipgrid, it's a series of grids, and imagine that's your filing cabinet in physical terms. Inside your grid, you add topics, and the topics will be the focus for discussions, debate, challenges. There'll be stimuluses that you want pupils to respond to. So you're going to need to add a topic. So the topics, you can have multiple topics, and they all sit inside of your grid. So you're going to need to give you topic titles. So this might be, how are you using Office 365, because we're in a Microsoft group today. And you give the discussion, I would be interested to find out 365, and There, is it there? You can add in media from other sources. So if you've pre-recorded a video as a stimulus, you want to say the video is you asking the question rather than type text. You can upload a video if you've got one externally. You can link to videos on YouTube. You can insert images. You can add GIFs, short animated videos. You can also add emojis. You can link to lots of other platforms. So if you, and particularly I know secondaries love Kahoot. If you're using Kahoot a lot for classroom questions, you can link out to Kahoot and bring Kahoot into here. And again, just like in Teams, the options that you've got here to link to other products are growing all the time. They're a fairly recent thing, but it gives you quite a lot of scope. You could also set permissions that you want for participants, but today I'm going to leave them off. You can have moderation so that if videos get uploaded, they're not automatically visible to other pupils. You could watch them first, check their suitability, make sure that they are okay for the purpose you intended. You also can have the length of time that the video is left for. I'm going to drop mine down to a minute. The reason I'm doing that is because not everybody at home has fast broadband, and if you've recorded a video and it's a long video, when you come to upload it, sometimes if they're doing this from home, it can cause issues. You also want to choose the language that best suits the pupils you're working with, and you can allow video and text comments if you want, or you can say that I'm only having video comments, I'm allowing none whatsoever, and those complement what you're doing. So I'm going to create that topic and save that up. It's done there. Again, just like I can share the grid, I can share the topic inside of my grid. That's got the code there, and exactly the same way with the QR codes. And you can download those to be A4 as well. So I'm going to say all set. So I'm now inside of my topic. I might want to have a picture for my topic. At the moment, I haven't got one, but if I did, I'll pop it in there. I'm going to just jump back over to the top end of Flipgrid so you can see what that looks like. Here are all my grids. That's my Microsoft grid. Here is where I've chosen for it to be hidden, but I don't have to go through all those settings. If I want, I can just make it active from here, and all of a sudden the status has changed. If you want to go back and edit it, the edit is there. If I go back into my grid, down here is my topic. How are you using Office 365? Then you can go in there and record videos. The video responses are better after pupils and students have had a time using this. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. I'm just going to see if I got Steph on here with me today. I have got Steph on here with me today. Steph, do you mind if I share your video contribution that you used and you left on a previous session? Do you mind if I do that in front of everybody? I'll just give Steph a chance to answer. So I've worked with various different people, whether it's an eco-council group in school, and you can see here it tells me the number of responses. It might be that I had an expeditions where I was working with some teachers and we're looking at Office 365, and we did something in here called Space Safari. So in Space Safari, I had those people come across and leave me videos. So when you start getting your responses inside of your topic, they are here. We'll next time look at accessibility tools, but there are things like immersive reader that we've shown you in Sway previously. So literacy level can be quite high, or the demand for literacy can be quite high, and that shouldn't be a barrier to the pupil engaging with the feedback that they're being asked to leave or the contribution they're being asked to make, so they can have that all that text read to them using that there. Then you can come down here and you can find out people that have left contributions, and you can make sure those contributions then can be either only listened by you and then released, or only listened by you and always available to you, or you can just have them go public straight away. So it's up to you how you want to work that release of the contributions coming in. But what it does is it allows you as a community to understand the feedback that you're getting, and then how that feedback then informs other students or pupils. So if you went to, Steph, are you there? Can I use yours? Dip into Steph's. I'm just going to pause it there because I haven't got her full permission. But you can see.
Hi, Martin. Yeah, it's fine.
That's fine. Brilliant. You can see there that the videos are coming in, and I get them there very quickly, easy to see. I can move to the next person if someone's already had theirs there. I can scroll in between them, and when I'm finished, I can jump back to the level above and go in there. So the videos that you're getting there would be just like pupils leaving feedback for me. So there's lots of different ways to use the topics. I would say make your grid a very broad, high-level subject or theme within the school that you know you've got several individual conversations to have, and the topics are like conversations, challenges, discussions going on, and they can then build up in here as a list of topics underneath that one category, a bit like you would have suspension files in a filing cabinet. The grid is the filing cabinet, the topics are thinking of like the suspension files, and then the contribution videos are like the individual pieces of paper you might put into the suspension files. It's probably the best analogy I've got for you to visualize this from a digital world to the real world. And then as that comes together, so you build it up, you can make sure in there that you get those topics building. And if you don't want them after a while, you can delete them. Or if you don't want people to see them, you can change their status from being available to not being available. And you've got all the actions also, as well as being in the main body up here on the side. So you can hide your topic. You can move your topic from one grid to the other. So you can lift it and shift it. If you know that you've moved classes, but last year you had a grid available, you don't want to go through the pain of recreating your topics, you can move them over. You can also export your data out as well. So that gets the videos out, it gets the comments that people have made out, and it's really, really useful. So what does that look like from a recording point of view? Let me just try and go across and show you one of those. So if I went into there, and my action might be to record a response, up it comes, and it'll probably now show you a video of what's going on. It should do, as long as it loads my video camera. I'm going to allow access to my camera. And here you go. You've got me here at home, and I'm busy, ready to say. I might say, hit the record button at the bottom. I've got effects options I can have that spice up what I'm doing, things like emojis on screen. I can add filters, I can frame what I'm doing. So if I said I wanted a frame, might be to have a lovely frame around the outside like that. I've also got options over here for adding captions. I can mirror my video, I can just record the whole screen, but I'm going to go ahead and say 3, 2, 1, count down till I'm leaving it. Welcome this afternoon. I'm really pleased that you've joined the Office 365 session, and the one thing that I found particularly useful is being able to just get hold of people wherever they are through using Teams to have video calls or audio calls. And then once you've done that, you can go to next. There's nothing worse than hearing yourself back. I'm happy with that. I'm not going to edit further still. So I might say, look, there is my contribution. Link, title is how I am using Office 365. I go submit, and then that will upload my video. And the shorter the better when it uploads, because it takes a bit of time otherwise, depending on, as I said, depending on your broadband speed. Flipgrid will then gradually build for your trust or your academy or your school into this library of insight into the thought process around your pupils, whether it's pastoral based or whether it's actually around a subject in education in the classroom. It's very powerful as well for senior leaders or central trust teams to dip in. And you can then see what's going on around you in the school. And I've seen schools propose a Flipgrid and topics for whole school changes. So maybe the plan is to change the food that you've got available to you at lunchtimes in the canteen. So instead of it being a free-for-all with people airing their views in whichever way they see fit, if you created a grid and then the topic, you can then share that topic link with parents, and you could have one topic for parent views, you could have one topic for student views, you could have one topic for staff views, and you've got your grid. The grid might be changing catering in school, and once you've got your changing catering in school grid Flipgrid there, you then could capture the views for all those different groups, but they're done as a video content, or they could do that in a more traditional method by just leaving some written feedback. But it's there in the one place, and what you can go in is review it quickly and easily, but it comes to life with the video element as well. So Flipgrid is a very quick introduction for you there. It's meant to be, if you want to know more, we run sessions all around Flipgrid, but it gives you a flavour of what's possible and what you can and can't do with it. And also it might be one of those tools that you want to weave into your ETF vision to understand a little bit more how it works and have some time to investigate how it might fit into your school. But you may already go, do you know what, for the classroom I could see great potential in it there, or do you know what, for the pastoral side of the school I think it'd be great, it would be really quick and easy, and I know that my pupils would be very keen to leave short mini videos. Where it's hosted, the videos are hosted on Microsoft servers, so it's all GDPR compliant. You don't need to worry about the video clips being stored somewhere that isn't within the EU. All of that's taken care of. And if you want to, at the end of the year, you can go back in and you can delete, as you've seen, you can delete the topics or you can delete the grid. So if you're thinking the videos shouldn't be there as a carryover between academic years, you can have a cleanse at the end of the academic year. Sadly, yet there's not an automated tool to do that, so you would need somebody in school to take ownership and do that. I've shown you most of the bits there on Flipgrid, but there probably is questions, there usually is around Flipgrid. So either unmute and talk to me, or you can pop something into the conversation chat in the meeting if you wish. Let me know your thoughts. Any questions there on Flipgrid? No. Okay, that's a first. Usually somebody has something to ask about Flipgrid. As I said, it's free. There is no additional subscription. So as long as you've got Office 365, you'll find Office 365 in your subscription, or you go to the website and you use your Office 365 account from school to sign up. That's what makes it so easy to get pupils and students involved, because you've given them an account anyway, and they can use that then for another purpose. And it's another tool where we haven't got to worry about extra costs or annual ongoing contracts. None of that's there, and Flipgrid is just available as a facility to use. I'm going to swap over screens a moment and we'll move over to the second application we're going to look at today. Again, it's something that's owned by Microsoft, but at the moment it's not a paid-for platform, and I don't see it becoming a paid-for platform. I'm just going to try and find dear old Minecraft. Seems to have done a runner. Hold on a minute. I think I'll go across the presentation while I restart Minecraft because it's had a moment. I'll skip through the Flipgrid bits. The Minecraft philosophy is to grow the mindset of the pupils and students using it. We are very much, as educationalists, about growth mindset, that open to change, also being able to cope with it. Well, we want to in here develop those creative skills where they have a chance to express themselves, but also grapple with the fact that life isn't easy and you are going to come up against some barriers, but they aren't impossible. There are ways of solving them. Sometimes that might be on your own as an individual, but other times it might be in small groups. Occasionally it may be in larger whole class groups. But what we want from using Minecraft Education Edition is to get that really sticky, memorable learning, that whatever you're doing, even if it's months down the line, someone will chirp up and say to you, do you remember when we did this? And somebody else in the class will go, oh yeah, we used Minecraft to build a village, or we used it in maths or science. And that sort of deeper, sticky learning is really powerful. And I've had massive success with using it in my classes, and what I want to do is show you what it could potentially do for you as well. So I've just got Minecraft started up in the background, and we'll go over to it in a bit. But people instantly have nightmares when they hear the word Minecraft. This isn't Minecraft that you'd have on a gaming console at home or you'd be using on a gaming PC. It's Minecraft in an educational context, which is being tailored to suit education. Gamification is very different from game-based learning. So in gamification, you would just add elements of a game to a non-game situation, and you use that to reward students for good work, or maybe that's really pleasing that you've made good progress in your other work. Have this as golden time, or have this as something that's an extra because you've done what I expected as far as your progress and your academic work. But game-based learning is entirely different. It's about that immersive, engaging environment. It's about, as we said, giving them the challenge, making them resilient in their learning, forcing them to solve problems and be successful in that, growing the confidence and enforcing the growth mindset culture that you're going to want to have in school. But it also does build communication and collaboration skills. I've used Minecraft Education Edition again in some very challenging classes, and where I've had disengaged pupils or pupils that are completely unwilling to work with the others, if I've dropped in Minecraft Education Edition, suddenly it's changed the context of the learning. And whereas before they didn't want to engage in working with a partner or even a 3 or maybe a 4 on the table, it suddenly becomes something they're willing to contribute and work in because they're all in an environment together. So you can have Minecraft where it's a single pupil in a single environment, or you can have a number of pupils in an environment, or even a whole class if you're brave enough to do it. There's really 6 principles underneath Minecraft Education. That you will fail, and you'll fail regularly, and you shouldn't be afraid of that. And it's something that we will all do in real life, and they need to learn as pupils or students with you at school. And that if you're going to be successful, you can't stick to a rigid set of principles. You will have to be flexible in what you're doing. You'll have to be adaptable to what's available around you, and also using others to help, so that building the community. The construction dynamic really does come across clearly. Pupils are absolutely passionate about what they've built. They've invested time and energy into it, and others are very respectful of that. And what I don't get often is people going around destroying each other's environments. It does happen occasionally. You need to deal with that, but not very often. The way that you would bring the Minecraft in is not just to drop it straight in. There's always a very structured process of planning and building up to the element of bringing the Minecraft in as a tool. Not just Minecraft appears in lesson 1, they go in, mess about, have a go at using it, and then hopefully some learning comes out of it. Just like planning high quality learning, there will be a sequence in that learning, and they'll progress through in a number of lessons or over a week, where they'll go from researching, and that could be book-based researching and recording that on paper. It could be that they use the internet to aid that research, but then they may be, I don't know, researching an historical building and how it was constructed as part of history. And the only point where Minecraft comes in is you use it as a tool to build that 3-dimensionally in a virtual world. And it's much better than maybe a long-term project where you've got to get them go away and use physical products to stick them together. That can be fiddly, or sometimes as a homework project, but setting this as a homework project could be used to complement that, or it could be used as an option. So you could say, well, you can do a physical build or you can do a Minecraft build, and you choose the tool for learning that you want to engage with. When you come into build projects, you're going to have your worlds, and I will go across to Minecraft in a minute, and that's where your build projects live, but you've also got lessons and build challenges you can dip into. And as a teacher, they're great along with biomes and worlds, because they are environments that have been pre-built for you. And instead of you starting with a blank canvas, you can take something that suits what you're teaching and get people straight into it. And then it's not about the effort from your side, because we are already time pressured. Or if you're introducing this as part of your vision as a leadership team or a trust central team, you might have the question straight away, well, I haven't got the time to invest in building that. Well, they don't have to. It's there for them and they can go and pick it up. You can also move beyond the physical creation element into coding. So this can link quite nicely into the Key Stage 2 coding curriculum. It can also link into the GCSE coding requirements as well. So there's lots of scope there, and it's not just block-based coding, it goes into script-based coding too. So before I go to the thank yous at the end, I'm going to swap over now, and I'm going to bring you into that environment. If you're going to set up Minecraft Education Edition, you need to make sure you have got the correct level of licensing. So where Flipgrid was absolutely free, you need to have E3 or E5 licensing. So E5 is, the cost of that is prohibitive, and you'd only have that for key staff. But you would have E3 licensing. So you may need to go away and change your licenses slightly for a certain group of pupils or students. So you may want to transfer those licenses for cost effectiveness between groups of students that maybe are doing this in different terms. So A1 license will not give you Minecraft Edition, but E3 or A3 will, and that's one thing that I want to point out and be transparent with you. But it's not a huge amount of cost, particularly if you only buy a small set and you move them between students. If budget allows and you have got that, then you can invest in them. But I'm aware how pressurized budgets actually are, and that it's not always easy to get that money available to upgrade those licenses. Right, I am just trying to get across to Minecraft. It started up in the background, but it really isn't playing ball for me to share on screen. So let me just come out of what I'm sharing, and I'm just quickly going to restart my Teams, which means I should pick up what's going on. So I'll be back in about 10 seconds. Stay with me. Go on. Right. For some reason, it muted me when I come back in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry, Paul, and everybody else is still here. I will quickly recap that. You put your account. All I said was put your account in. You land on the landing screen, and then you go to, for instance, My Lessons, and you can come into a pre-made lesson, and you can walk around and find the content that's available here for you. You don't need a mouse, or you can use the keyboards. And then all of a sudden you'll come in, and there you have to look for things like bots that you might want to speak to, and you interact with them. And it's either a right click of the mouse or a left click of the mouse. So by right clicking, it says, "Here's my technician." It starts to guide you through. The immersive reader and accessibility tools are here inside of Minecraft again. So again, the text doesn't have to be a barrier to getting into something. I'm just going to pop out of that. I've just dropped in there to show you what you're doing. So you can save and exit and then come out of your project. That will get saved in the cloud. So when you're moving between computers, it's not a big problem. Or you can export them as well. Monthly build challenges I find quite useful for going in and just getting stimulus to learning, or also for bringing things in. So one of the things that they added that I've used before is the area and volume challenge, and this is for maths. So the build challenge in here was not just to model area and volume with blocks, but to go in and prepare a challenge that somebody else had to work out what the area and volume was. So here we are, we've got my agent, I've got a notice board to tell me what I'm going to do. And over here, I've got a bot that could build my code for me, build my volume or my area for me. So this side, I've got volume. So I've got volume equals length times times width times height. Over here, I've got area equals length times width. And someone's put those blocks up in the air by scaffolding underneath and then taking scaffolding away. And what I could go over here is I could work out by using the calculation that's above me, area equals length times width. Let's go to this one, it's probably a better example. Okay, so I'm 2 blocks by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. And then on the blackboards here, I can write what the answer is, and different pupils or students can come and then share those answers or go and check if answers are correct. And it can be another way to come into maths and look at area or length or perimeter, however you want to model that part, but you're doing it in a Minecraft world rather than doing it just as a paper-based exercise. So the build challenges are there to challenge pupils, but they're also there to avoid parents getting stuck if they need an extension activity, but also to avoid staff having to go away and create something. So it could be you're looking at castles and there's a moat built for you, or you're looking at space travel and you've got a launch pad and you're going to build the spacecraft on it. So build challenges are really good. And finally, if you just want to get people into a particular environment, you can go into things called featured worlds, and featured worlds can take you into a themed place, such as graduation ceremonies or an inspiration island, which gives them inspiration, or you can have biomes, such as an area there sort of in the Wild West, desert, forest, and it gets you quickly into an immersive world that you don't have to worry about building the world or starting with a flat plane of grass, which you've got there, blocks of grass, but they are another option. So that is all contained here in your view library. And what it does is it makes a great deal of content for staff to save them having to go away and use it. And there are other forums and other places you can go and get content from and import them in, or you can take other people's projects that people have created in your school and bring them in. I'm going to go into my worlds just to give you an example of some projects I've been accessing. So there is the area and volume one that I used with you just a moment ago, and the sales tour. It could be that I have decided that I'm going to look at bridge construction, for instance, and in bridge construction, this is what a challenge that I used in another session. We researched Ironbridge in Shropshire. We looked at how the shapes were used, what shapes are strong shapes in construction, how they might have been used in other buildings. And I just brought a biome in, and the biome here was just a valleys biome. But what we did, we took construction materials and we built, if I fly up in the air here, we built from blocks of metal and railings, we built into the side of the valley here a bridge, and we constructed it using the shapes that we were given. So we decided that arches were quite strong and they were able to bear a load, and the load pushed down onto the foundations on the side, and that allowed the traffic to go across the top. I can then move around it, so you could get other pupils to go and evaluate the work completed by other people. You can also walk on these once they're built. They're there as a real environment, and we left some notice boards to say welcome to what you're doing. So how that looks in how projects are easily achieved, if I go scroll off the side of this here, I might say, well, that's great, I've got a bridge there, but what I'd like to build is a house up here. So I've got some empty plinths. And this is also really great for building a town environment, because you've got the roads and you've got concrete plinths to build upon, or stone plinths to build upon. Down the bottom of the screen, you'll see some squares that have got materials in them. And what I can do is I can change the equipment I've got available to me, and I can either go through the store of equipment I have available, so you can see I've got wood and things like that, or I can search for it. So I might want stone. If I search for stone, it will then narrow down the equipment that I've got. And here I've got something in me. I've got water. Well, I don't need water anymore, but what I do need is to have some mossy cobblestones, and I can drop them in, and I can truck the water out. And to build my walls, I think I'll have a cobblestone wall, and I'll pop that in there like that. Unlike Minecraft at home, you haven't got a limited amount of resources. It is unlimited, so that it encourages that creative nature. When you're finished, you can come out of here. But you know, one of the things I think I might do is I might change it from let's get rid of scaffolding and throw that away. And I'm going to go to something that allows me to document my learning. So I might go to something called Book and Quill, and I drop in Book and Quill, and I'm going to come out of that. And then right here at the bottom of the screen, I press number 1 to get to the first thing, block of iron. 2 is that. So I might say, look, I've got some stone bricks, or I want my mossy cobblestones, but I want to clear away what I've got. So I'm going to actually remove some of the stones I've got there. And then what I might do, you can see when the squares appear on the floor, you start to put in and you build up your environment, and then your stones can go in, and all of a sudden you've got rid of your stone plinth, because I want some mossy atmospheric cobblestones to go in the front there. Well, that's great, but now I need to build my walls, so I think I'll go across to there, and I'll start to pop my walls up, and then those will gradually build and start to fit together. And you can see quite quickly you can get building with what you're doing. And I'm not going to sit here today and do all of that, but it may be that I've achieved something and I'm really proud of what I've achieved, but I want to document my learning or document what I've done for my teacher. Well, there are ways to do that, and that's where I've got the Book and Quill. I think I'm going to go back to equipment, and I'm going to get rid of book. I'm going to search for camera. And I'm going to drag a camera in to replace those blocks there, throw those away and come back out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the camera, and I think I'll put the camera there. And then I'm going to stand, at the moment I'm stood in front of my wall, I'm stood in front of my mossy items, and I've got my bridge in the background, and I've built that. I think I might slide just a little bit to the left there. And then I can click on the camera, and what the camera does is, if I don't destroy it, in fact, let's put it there, I can click on the camera, and what the camera will do is it will take a picture of me, and it got a picture of me with my bridge in the background and what I've just created, and that's evidencing my learning. And you teach pupils to do that so that teachers can look at the book. And what I'll do next is I'll move across to the Book and the Quill and throw that out there, and it opens up a book on screen. And what I can do now is I can create some writing or pictures. So it might be that I'm going to type on screen there. So it might be, during this lesson I constructed the bridge and started a house. Then over on this page here, I might want to document what I've got. So I took a picture of my house in there. So I start to then build up my book, and I can flick through my pages. And when that's done, I can sign it and I can export it. But I could also use the accessibility tools. But for me as a teacher, I could drop into their environment, or I could look at their project afterwards. And if I look at their Book and Quill, the pupil is forced to document their own evaluation of their progress and their learning. Have they met my expectations? Have they met the learning objective of the lesson? Have they followed the success criteria? And it would all be evidenced in here. So it's not just an environment you go in to mess around. It very much is educationally focused, and it can be twisted to all sorts of scenarios. So Minecraft Education Edition, it's endless. It's got scope to go in all directions and all subjects. It's just where the pupils want to take it. And further still, I said for secondary purposes, and also you can go into Code Builder. So you can go into something called Microsoft Make Code. So you can use Tinker for block-based building. So I click on that for Key Stage 2. I can use my blocks to drag in, a little bit like Scratch or other products. So you can go into My Projects, and I'm going to create a mod. should allow me to do that in there. Or you can go in and you can script with script-based languages, and you can do that there. And what you can do is you can have things like the agent that I showed you earlier. So here's where I'm doing my block-based coding, and you can code an agent, which is like a robot, to build a wall for you. So what's the point in standing and spending ages building a wall? You can get something, you could program it to on start, move forward one space, place a block, move forward another space, place a block, place 10 blocks, turn left 90 degrees, place another 10 blocks, turn left 90 degrees, and so forth. So you're starting then to teach elements of STEM, you're teaching maths, you're hitting your computer and science curriculum. All of this is happening within Minecraft Education Edition. So what I wanted to show you were two programs that are not directly in Office 365, but may become a core part of your vision for digital change. And really, it's evaluating for you. Is it something that's right for you at the moment, or is it something you want to keep in your plan for maybe year 3, 4, or 5, when staff have got to grips with some of the basics? Or have you got people already in your school that you know would revel in this if they could pick it up and use it in their classrooms and would bring it to life? And maybe they can be the people that are digital leaders that start to build the capacity to draw upon in maybe year 3 when you want to run it out to the wider school, and they can start to use it within their subject or with their classes. We obviously want consistency with educational transformation, but you're going to either start with pockets or start with someone delivering it first before you get that wider aspect in school. I'm just going to jump out of there. So when you're finished, you just press save and exit, and then you save and exit it, and it will save it in, and then it will be back in your set of My Worlds. You go back into My Worlds, and that's where you pick them up from there. So you can see lots of different projects, and there is pretty much endless scope of what you want to do with that. And it can be as complex or as simple, and we have really only placed a few blocks today. There's a lot more to it than that. But again, we run separate sessions around Minecraft Education Edition. If it's something you're interested in the future, you'd be welcome to come along to one of those. So any questions today around Minecraft Education Edition, or anything that you've got that's going around your head with how it might fit into your school or your trust? Nope. Okay. As far as today's session is concerned, at the beginning, as we said, we've covered the 4 pillars in sessions 3 and 5. We've looked at all the way along other applications in the wider Microsoft 365 or Office 365 itself that could become part of your digital transformation. We've got session 7 left, and in session 7 we'll look at how to get access to resources. So we'll look at Microsoft learning tools and accessibility tools, of which Immersive Reader I keep labouring because it's in everything. And also we want to come back and just find out how you're getting on with your planning. And as I said before, I appreciate you're busy, you've got priorities, COVID is throwing us curveballs every day. So it might be you just talk to me about what your vision is in your head at the moment. You haven't written anything down, you haven't planned anything. That's absolutely fine. If you haven't started yourself, then it's coming along to hear that discussion from other people and how they're potentially going to approach it and get some ideas for yourself, because we want to build community during this project. But for today, I'm happy to take any remaining questions. Otherwise, I will say, everyone have a safe evening, and I will see you in session 7. So it's throwing the doors open. Anybody want to ask anything in particular? No? Okay, I will stop sharing my Minecraft screen, and I'll remain here for... Thank you everyone for coming along. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I will see you all on the next session.